called Scarlet and Violet 151. And these are the card translations coming out for these cards. And if you guys couldn't tell, this is a set revolving around the original 151 original Pokemon of the game. There is a lot to go over. Let's see, I got quite a few notes here that I wrote down earlier. Um, but yeah, guys, we got quite a bit of Pokemon stuff coming up here. A lot of it is from the new set. I'm actually pretty excited for it, to be completely honest. Let's go ahead and start going down this list a little bit, and we could discuss what exactly, how these cards may affect the game, and the kind of stuff we could look forward to seeing, especially since I'm going to be getting some of this set too. This just looks so freaking good. Already, obviously, starting from Pokemon number 1 of the Kanto Dex, we have Bulbasaur. Bulbasaur, very simple, but where there's a Bulbasaur, that means there is going to be a Venusaur X. Yeah, there's going to be a Venusaur X coming out. It is a wicked looking card. Here we have it, Venusaur X, 340 hit points. Frosty Clips, hey man, hey, woman, girl, my bad. I don't know, how you doing? No, not much, nothing much good. We had some technical difficulties trying to figure this out. We're going over, I wanted to go over the new set coming out, 151. So, from Scarlet and Violet. So that's exactly what we're doing right now. We're just having a little bit of discussion, and then we're going to get into some Pokemon TCG later. But yeah, guys, this is the Venusaur. This is the Venusaur of the set, the 151 set. Venusaur X, 340 whopping hit points. Its ability, Tranquil Flower. Once during your turn, if this Pokemon is your active Pokemon, you may heal 60 damage from one of your Pokemon. And then its attack is Dangerous Toxic Whip. Your opponent's active Pokemon is now confused and poisoned. So now we're looking at the double status ailments again. Though we haven't seen double status ailments since I think the beginning of Sword and Shield, where there was a really powerful Butterfree. You're at work right now, but in about 2 hours, I don't mind hopping on Pokemon Live to play with you. Absolutely, yeah, that sounds great. Sounds great, Clips. I'll be here. But yeah, guys, when we were looking at this Venusaur here, we're looking at quite a bit of information. First and foremost, its retreat cost is huge, but the multi-status conditions that it can provide is just absolutely powerful. It's going to punish your opponent for keeping the Pokemon in. If they don't run any kind of retreat, they're going to have to. They're going to have to coin flip through the confusion to attempt to retreat their Pokemon, and if they fail, they're going to be taking damage for it. I don't think it's in the bugs in the game anymore where they have to actually pay the retreat cost, but still, it seems very, very. It seems like there's going to be quite a bit of power behind this Venusaur. It's gonna match very well with the Hisuian Sneasler. The Hisuian Sneasler, for I think 1 Dark Energy and a Colorless Energy, it does 80 times the amount of status conditions on your opponent's Pokemon, along with stuff like Bravery Charm to keep Hisuian Sneasler active. This White Ops deck will love this deck. But yeah, this Venusaur has a lot of potential, and it has healing options as well. You can match it with the Radiant Serena, and that gives you that changes that 60 healing to 80 healing. So you're basically getting off a buffed up Super Potion without the energy drop. So Venusaur here, you guys can expect to see Venusaur. He's going to be a force to be reckoned with. And I don't know if Frosty Pantsu is in chat with us today, but he's going to want to be, because we're going to be going over a Charizard X. This Charizard X, this is a very, very wickedly powerful Pokemon as well. We'll go ahead and read his little translation here real quick. For a fire energy, he has the attack Brave Wing. Does 60 plus damage. If this Pokemon has any damage counters on it, this attack does 120 more. So it's going to make it a perfect target to be susceptible to Magma Basin. You get to put 1 energy on this Pokemon from your discard pile, dealing 20 damage to the Charizard. So that kind of sucks. But 20 damage from 330 HP, making him 310 still. And on top of that, you're looking at 160 damage for 1 energy. 160 damage for 1 energy. Yeah, you know what? You're right. Yeah, the Leafeon VMAX deck does punish for high retreat cost. And its big attack, its big explosive attack is literally called Explosive Vortex for 4 fire energy. So there's a lot of cost there. You do 330. He literally does his own HP's worth of knockout fodder here. Does 330. You discard 3 energies from this Pokemon, but you put him back down into that 1 energy range. Charizard, it's gonna be a very good comeback card. There is an item card in this set called Energy Seal. Basically, you flip a coin. If heads, you attach an energy to your Pokemon from your discard pile. So that's pretty good too. It's going to help you get it back up and going again. Not to mention, there's also a support card in here called Giovanni's Charisma. It's a really good disruption card. It takes an energy off of your opponent's active Pokemon, and then you get to put one on your active Pokemon. So again, Charizard here has there's some playability there. There's a lot of potential for Charizard here to be just either a late game comeback card, or it's going to be a Pokemon that just absolutely dominates with its first attack. And Spite Ups puts 1 more retreat cost, and opponent 4 puts 4. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah, I'm familiar with that. Yeah, the Spidops X. I actually wanted to make a deck with Spidops X for a while now, but I just wasn't fortunate enough to pull any from Scarlet and Violet. I literally pulled a buttload of everything else. Koraidons, Miraidons. I pulled a buttload of Great Tusks, stuff like that. I pulled Gyarados up the Yin Yang. I pulled absolutely no Spidops. It's very disappointing. But yeah, guys, Charizard EX, Charizard X is going to be an absolute freaking powerhouse coming out. Coming up here, though, we got Blastoise X. Blastoise X. Go ahead and open this up. You can see here, Blastoise X has a whopping 330 hit points. It matches the HP strength of Charizard, and you guys may be wondering what it does. So let's go ahead and get to the translation here real quick. We're looking at ability Solid Shell. This Pokemon takes 30 less damage from attacks. That's all it does. It basically makes this Pokemon a 360 HP Pokemon, more or less. With its attack, double water energy for 2 water energy, we're looking at Twin Cannons, 140 damage. Discard up to 2 basic water energy cards from your hand. This attack does 140 for each card you discarded this way. So, guys, when you use this Pokemon in tandem with, say, Qianpao, and you get those 2 water energies from your deck with its ability, you're gonna have a 280 damaging Pokemon. Blastoise, again, it's another powerhouse. It's gonna be very fast active powerhouse at that. It has high survivability because of its ability Solid Shell, taking 30 less damage. Oh, there's Sammy, guys. Sammy, you want to say hi? No, she's just gonna get cozy up there in my chair. All right. Well, anyway, Blastoise has a high survivability because of the massive amount of hit points, the damage reduction it takes. There's a lot of heavy water support out there right now. Stuff like Superior Energy Retrieval, Super Rod. It's all going to allow you to get your energies back and put them back in your deck and rinse and recycle them again. Where basically that's what Blastoise needs for you. Blastoise is also going to be it's going to team up very well with Baxcalibur, allowing you to put as many water energies as you want I mean, in this case, you only need to put 2. So if Blastoise is your active Pokemon, stuff like Giovanni's Charisma, like I said before, is going to be very, very helpful for him. You can basically get Blastoise live in one move. If you go Water Energy, Giovanni's Charisma, removing energy off theirs, taking energy back onto Blastoise. Of course, you need that Water Energy in your discard, or in your hand. Let's see. But yeah, Blastoise is going to be kind of scary. Again, it's another Pokemon that's going to match up very well with like stuff like Radiant Serena. It's going to heal. It's gonna definitely make that 20 HP heal seem a lot more what it's worth than what it's actually worth. So we'll see. We'll have to see what happens, guys. This set's gonna, I think, definitely shake it up a little bit. Let's see. Let's scroll down here a little bit. Some kind of strange and honorable mentions here is this Butterfree. This Butterfree right here, its second attack, it's not a fast evolving Butterfree, otherwise it would make a lot more sense. I think it'd see a little bit more play. So that being said, it's probably not gonna see any play whatsoever. It's gonna be one of those cards that people are just gonna blink and it's gone. But its attack, Bye Flight, for double colorless energy, for a double turbo energy, basically. You can do Bye Flight, choose one of your opponent's bench Pokemon. They shuffle that Pokemon and all attached cards into their deck. Then shuffle this Pokemon and all attached cards into your deck. So, late game, this is going to be a very good game changer. If your opponent finds themselves, with only 2 Pokemon, either early game or late game, Bye Flight is going to get rid of their bench. It's going to force them to have to go through their deck again. So yeah, guys, that's a pretty decent honorable mention here, the Butterfree. This is another neat little homage card here. Pigeon. Its attack, its better attack, for 3 colorless energy is Fly. 150 damage, you flip a coin. If tails, this attack does nothing. If heads, during your opponent's next turn, prevent all damage and effects of attacks done to this Pokemon. So basically, nothing happens to him. He is immune for an entire turn, and you get a free 150. Well, a 50-50 150. Right, guys, going down the list here a little bit more. Here's another pretty honorable mention here. Eradicate. I don't know how people are going to use this, but I think it might have a little bit of play in certain decks. I'm noticing that colorless Pokemon are becoming a little bit more helpful. In this case, Eradicate. You can see it's not really special. 70 HP, no retreat cost. That makes it actually kind of scary. But yeah, it's attack, double colorless energy. So for a double turbo energy, we're looking at second bite, 30 plus damage. This attack does 30 more damage for each damage counter on your opponent's active Pokemon. So if you happen to be playing a deck that happens to be, splashing damage left and right, occasionally sniping a Pokemon here and there, you're lining them up for a future Eradicate chewing. So, and not just that, you get this card will also help you play the prize game, the prize balance game. You know what I mean? There's a lot of cards in the game right now that are very helpful, but a lot of them only tend to activate if your opponent takes the lead in prizes. I don't know about you, but I'd much rather have my opponent not get only 1 prize instead of 2 prizes from EX. So that being said, I think we're gonna see Eradicate in a deck later on. It's just a quick little 1-2 evolution. It's gonna be kind of. I think it'll make a bigger splash than most people think. Right, we do have an Arbok EX here. Unfortunately, I don't see its real potential. It seems to be like the throwaway. Where it does 70 damage for its first attack, and the Pokemon can't retreat. Its other attack is 3 dark energy for 150, and your opponent has to discard 2 cards from their hand. It's good for disruption. It's Arbok, so Team Rocket. Team Rocket has always been cards that disrupt your opponent. But it's personally, I don't think that's going to affect them enough. Late game, where your opponent's struggling, maybe you know if you judge, and then you menacing fang them, you force your opponent to only have 2 cards in hand. So I mean, there's potential, but I just don't think this is going to be as effective as people think it's going to be. Another really honorable mention is Raichu. Its ability, Grounding. When one of your Pokemon is knocked out by damage from an attack from your opponent's Pokemon, you may move 1 basic lightning energy card from that Pokemon to this Pokemon. Its attack is Thunder at 180 damage, but then Raichu does 50 damage to itself. I've always hated attacks that do damage to yourself. I mean, at that point, you may as well have the Pokemon just not do, especially since Raichu's HP isn't really that high to begin with. It only has 120. Like, we've seen several Pokemon that can sneeze and do that much damage. So, the fact that you make this Pokemon, you know, an 80 HP Pokemon from using Thunder once doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to me. Alright guys, the next thing to look forward to is an entire deck style. It's an entire deck style. And what I'm talking about here is the Nido family. The Nido family, Nidoran female and Nidoran male. Eventually evolving and becoming Nidoqueen and Nidoking. And just like any relationship, guys, the husband and wife need to set it up and the other has to take them down. You know what I mean? So, in this particular case, we're looking at Nidoqueen. Nidoqueen here, 170 HP, which really isn't bad. If you can get it active fast enough. It is a dark Pokemon, so you're going to be able to use dark support cards like Dark Patch and stuff like that. It's going to be very helpful for this Pokemon. The big thing, though, is she's basically going to be your general damage dealer. As you can see here, for a dark and a colorless, we're looking at Queen Press, 90 damage. Not very great damage, but during your opponent's next turn, prevent all damage done to this Pokemon by attacks from basic Pokemon. This actually is the start of a deck that can kind of actually counter some of the Beasts of Destruction. Tanglu, Chien-Pao, all that stuff. Just like Nidoqueen here, Queen's Press. If you do deal Queen's Press damage, you're going to prevent your opponent's basic Pokemon from dealing any damage to Nidoqueen at all. So, that being said, Nidoqueen now becomes a lot more tougher. Its other attack for an additional energy is 160. It's just flat out damage, nothing too fantastic. But, you know, over time, that damage does stack up. When you look at the 90 plus the 60, you're looking at a 250 damage. So that usually, even with a Bravery Charm, most basic Pokemon will be knocked out. Now, looking in tandem, she's going to be the one to set them up, usually with Queen's Press, because you can kind of make them squishy that way. And that's all you really need, to be completely honest. You could probably splash something else into the deck to make it a little bit more manageable in terms of like HP, because that's the big thing here. The big thing is they don't have a whole lot of hit points if they're being hit by X Pokemon that are stage 2. But looking here at Nidoking, my boy from the Red and Blue era, guys. That's how long ago I started playing this. Well, at least on the Game Boy. Anyway, looking at Nidoking here, his ability, King's Vigor. If Nidoqueen is on your bench, this Pokemon's attacks cost no energy. None. Absolutely nothing. So you don't even have to fuel his big ass. You just need to have him on. You just need to swap him from your bench. You just need to evolve him and swap him from the bench area. Sammy, do you mind? I got my cat over here laying on my freaking mouse pad. But yeah, Nidoking, King's Vigor makes it so that his attacks cost nothing. And as you can see here, Venom Impact, 190 damage, guys. 190 damage. That, if you work it in tandem, the Queen's Press with the Venom Impact, you now did the 280 damage necessary to knock out the bigger um, Beast of Destruction with a Bravery Charm. They're looking at HP at about 280. That's exactly 280 damage. And if that's not enough, guys, to add insult to injury, you're gonna be your opponent's active Pokemon is now also poisoned. Whoop! Sammy just dropped my light source. The big old cat. Hold on, let me get her. Let me get her over here. Oh, sorry, Sammy. Let me reset up my light source real quick, guys. My bad. All right. So yeah, guys, we're looking at a very powerful deck coming up here with Nidoqueen and Nidoking. Let's see. All right, yeah, that's just about all my notes I have on this right now. But the next Pokemon I'm going to talk about, like I said, guys, this deck seems like it needs a little bit more, right? Let's go into here. This is where it's going to be a little iffy, wishy-washy, possibly, but we'll come back to it. Then of course we have Vulpix and Ninetales X. Ninetales really seems like another one of those lackluster Pokemon. I don't know if there's going to be enough support to get off the floor. Just kind of like the Arbok, you know, there's potential, but it's not really a great potential. For one fire energy, Heat Wave, 30 damage. Your opponent's active Pokemon is now burned. For a fire energy and a colorless, Mirrored Flames, 80 damage. If you have the same number of cards in your hand as your opponent, this attack does 140 more. All in all, I believe that Vulpix and Ninetales X would actually probably go a little bit better to help support the Arcanine deck. The Arcanine deck takes a little bit of setup. You definitely need your Arcanine to be taking hits, and I think Ninetales would be perfect to clean up, especially in the later parts of the game where, you know, everybody's spent their hand, you're kind of struggling, kind of going between, you know, 3 cards, 4 cards, 5 cards in a hand, especially if you can Iono. If you can Iono, and both of you happen to have the same number of prize cards, again, it's another card that kind of gets off the floor with Judge. Judge basically makes both trainers shuffle their hand into the deck and draw 4 cards. So in this case, you meet the qualifications and you deal yourself a whopping 120 damage for 2 energy. So there's potential, but again, I don't think it's going to be quite as much as they want it to be. All right, guys, coming up next, the greatest of the toughs, the most wiggliest of the buffs, is Wigglytuff X. Wigglytuff X, guys. Yeah, why in the hell Wigglytuff X? Guys, this thing is insane. I've read this card so many times, and I'm just like, you know what? I gotta do something with it eventually. I know it doesn't look too special, right? 250 HP, it's a stage 2. I mean, it's kind of funny because there's no baby Pokemon for it. There's a baby Pokemon for it, so you would think it's a stage 2 Pokemon, but it's not. It's not. All right, guys, here we go. Ability, Expanding Body. If this Pokemon has any special energy attached, it gets 100 extra hit points, making it a 350 damage tanking Pokemon. Last time we've seen 350 HP, I think, was freaking Wailord. What is it? Wailord GX. So that was a while ago, and that's a lot of HP to go through. Like almost nothing is gonna one-shot it. So let's see here. I got a couple notes here. Big HP. It's gonna match up very well with Venusaur, because Venusaur can heal 60 damage. You know what I mean? If you need time to set yourself up, this thing is gonna give it to you. Again, the Radiant Serena heals 20 damage. You're getting 80 heals from the Venusaur and the Serena combination. Let's see. There's an item in the set called Leftovers, and it does exactly what you think it does. It heals damage off your Pokemon after every turn. So yeah, so it heals 20 damage. It's Poké Tool. You're gonna give it to Wigglytuff. Now it's definitely healing. That 80 damage is now become 100 heals. How insane is that, guys? And of course, you could also use it in tandem with Snorlax. Snorlax is in the set. We'll get to that eventually. I'll come back to it, and you guys will understand then. But yeah, guys, freaking Wigglytuff X is gonna be freaking scary. It's gonna be a beast of a tank, and no one can tell me otherwise. For 3 colorless energy, it does friend tackle, 90 damage. If you played a supporter card from your hand during this turn, this attack does 90 more. If you're not at least playing one support card a turn, then you're not exactly playing the game. So yeah, guys, 180 damage. You're going to be able to chip down just about whatever you want with this Pokemon. And this is what I was talking about. This is what the Nidoking and Nidoqueen deck was probably missing. It's going to missing a Pokemon that can take hits for them while you set them both up. And once you get them rolling, get them moving. Alright, guys, moving along. Another honorable mention here is going to be the Oddish family line. The original Oddish family line, excuse me. Oddish, Gloom, and Vileplume. When you look at them, they don't look all that fantastic, but they're going to be energy acceleration. Looking at Oddish, Oddish really doesn't do anything, unfortunately. But Gloom, its ability, early bloom energy. When you play this Pokemon from your hand to evolve one of your Pokemon during your turn, you may look at the top 3 cards of your deck and attach any number of basic energy cards you find there to your Pokemon in any way you like. Shuffle the other cards back into your deck. So, that being said, these Pokemon can be played in just about any deck and expect to get good value out of. We're talking about the Charizard earlier and how its energy acceleration would be a little lacking, but there was a couple cards that could help it out. This is another one, guys. You're going to play Charizard with the Oddish family line. Um, the best thing about this is that most of its attacks only cost double colorless. From Oddish, from Bloom, from Vileplume. That means you can throw yourself a couple of what is that called there? Drawing a blank at the moment. But I'm thinking about the rainbow energy. You could throw that. You could throw that card. You could throw 4 copies of that special energy into your deck. Sorry, Sammy keeps trying to claw me. And let's see. Yeah, guys, sorry, going back to what I was saying. Yeah, Gloom and Vileplume can be used in tandem with that Charizard deck, and you will have you'll have Charizards active all game long. Um, it's probably going to be a lot more helpful in the Venusaur deck because Venusaur needs, I think, 4 energy in order to attack. Um, but yeah, anything that's going to cost high energy cost, running these 3 is going to be definitely helpful. Even if you only run a family chain, you're going to be able to pick up 3, and then with Vileplume, this slightly changes, even though it's called, Bloom's called Early Bloom Energy. Vileplume's called Full Bloom Energy. When you play this Pokemon from your hand to evolve one of your Pokemon during your turn, you may look at the top 8. Top 8. That's almost 3 times as much. That's over 3 times as much. 3.5 times as much as last time. That you search the top of your deck for energies and then attach them to your Pokemon any way you like. Of course, they do have to be basic energies. And yeah, guys, that's these are going to be really, really good energy acceleration. I mean, they're going to be meat shields, but again, these Pokemon will help you play that prize manipulation game, and it'll help you get a little bit more value out of your cards. So now scrolling down here, let's see. Yeah, really, neat and honorable mention as well, guys, from this set is that with Meowth and Persian, Persian actually has an ability uh, that allows you, when you, once per turn, you may search your deck for a Giovanni's Charisma card, reveal it, and put it into your hand, and then shuffle your deck. So yeah, there's a mini Giovanni deck archetype in this. We'll go over the cards as they come up. Of course, I've already mentioned Giovanni's Charisma a couple times. Now we have the Persian here that searches out the Giovanni's Charisma, and later down the way, we'll take a look at Rhydon. This gold deck as well. This is another pretty good one. Of course, I'm going to have to come back to it. Just remember, its first attack here. Drowning Rescue. Put up to 4 Pokemon from your discard pile into your hand. Scrolling down here, we have a slightly better Primeape than we've seen so far. That doesn't mean it can't evolve into Annihilate. But you know, there's already been like 3 printings of this card in the last 2 sets. So, another very beefy Arcanine. It's meant to be a support Pokemon, but at this point, we have so many other support Pokemon, we just need to kind of leave Arcanine alone for a little while. One of my personal favorites, Poliwrath. Unfortunately, it's very, very underpowered, very lackluster, like a lot of the other cards that we've seen that tend to be our favorites and tend to not have a whole lot of harumph. Anyway, next up, we're going to be talking about is Abracadabra and Alakazam. This is the first printing of Kadabra and Alakazam that we've seen. Golly, and I think, well, at least Kadabra, I think in the last 10 years, because of some stupid ass lawsuit that some other magician had, or some magician had against Pokemon for using his name. I don't know. He was called like the Great Kadabra or some bullcrap. Anyway, point being, it's an evolution line that leads into Alakazam X. Alakazam X, you can see that still that 300 whopping HP, and 2 very basic attacks with not a whole lot of retreat cost. He resists fighting type Pokemon. Anyway, going to its attacks now, we're looking at Mind Jack. For double colorless energy, it does 90 damage. This attack does 30 more damage for each of your opponent's bench Pokemon. So you punish your Pokemon, you punish your opponent pretty well for having a full bench early game, which typically nowadays you kind of want to do. And the next is, I think, the most gimmicky but the most entertaining thing of this deck so far. I'm talking about that Wigglytuff again and how it can take so many hits so often. It takes 3 damage. And what happens if you don't actually have a supporter to play that turn, right? Kind of be a big bummer. In this case, we have Alakazam here. Dimensional Manipulation. 120 damage. This Pokemon can use its attack even from the bench. Yeah, even from the bench. So guys, you can have that Wigglytuff up front, absorbing all the hits, all you want. You don't even have to put a single energy on it. You don't even have to retreat it. It could literally sit there and just damage, sponge, poison, burn, sleep, paralysis. You can have Alakazam X sitting on your bench, holding on to 2 energy cards, and he could just be dealing that 120 damage to the active Pokemon. I honestly think we're going to see a deck with this Pokemon eventually. And the cool thing is, it just says nothing about its items not affecting it either. So if we get stuff on it like, let's see. Sorry guys, going through my notes here real quick. Oh yeah, okay. Yeah, so we got stuff on it like a Defiance Band, and we're trying to make up the deficit already in prizes. We're looking at 150 for 2 energy. So yeah, there's a whole lot coming, and we're not exactly sure how it's really gonna rock up the game until they're out and about. But yeah, don't sleep on Alakazam, guys. Definitely, I hope you guys can get yourselves a couple copies of this card and try him out. But yeah, when you do choose to use his attack, you are attacking for the turn, and that that means you can't do anything with Wigglytuff. Here's a pretty good troll card. There's another little honorable mention here. Machamp, ability, Guts. If this Pokemon would be knocked out by damage from an attack, flip a coin. If heads, this Pokemon is not knocked out, and its remaining HP becomes 10. It's like a sturdy ability, basically. And then its attack, Mountain Chop, for 2 fighting energy, you do 100 damage. Discard the top 2 cards of your opponent's deck. So it's kind of a 50-50 gimmick card. Here's another interesting and honorable mention, guys. Victory Bell. For grass energy and a colorless energy, it does Delayed Acid. 120 damage base. At the end of your opponent's next turn, put 12 damage counters on the defending Pokemon. Yeah, guys. 240 damage for 2 energy. So unless you decide to pick that Pokemon back up and put it in your hand, 240 HP is being deducted from that Pokemon. Right, guys, next Pokemon here on our list is the Geodude family. Geodude, Graveler, and Golem. Geodude is very, very simple as is. He could take 30 less damage with a fighting energy off him. He deals 20 damage for 2 energy. Graveler, 40 times, flip a coin until you get tails, 40 damage for each heads. Heavy Impact, 60 damage for 3 energy. And of course, Golem X. Golem X here. He's looking as badass as ever, as badass as could be. Really, really high energy retreat cost. Takes double damage from grass. Excuse me a second, guys. And like the other EXs we've seen so far, like Charizard, Blastoise, Venusaur, this guy is sitting up there at 330 hit points. 330, guys. So yeah, it's quite a bit of HP, and let's get to his attacks, shall we? His first attack, for 1 fighting energy, Dynamic Roll, 50 damage. During your next turn, attacks used by this Pokemon do 120 more damage to your opponent's active Pokemon. So, if you only have 1 energy on this guy anyway, you're going to deal 50 damage at first. Next turn, you're going to be dealing 170. Yeah. Now, best case scenario, you start off with a dynamic roll, and the next turn you get that double turbo energy on this big guy. And you get off Rock Blaster. 180 damage. This damage isn't affected by resistance. Even if you did use a double turbo, you're dealing 160. With an additional 120. 120! That's 300 damage. This guy can push 300 damage. He can push between 300 and 280 damage, guys. 300 and 280. Ay. Yeah, guys, definitely don't sleep on Golem. He's going to be one of those Pokemon as well that has support, that has damage resistance support as well. Brass Rock Plate item, which reduces damage by 30, I believe. Lake Acuity, which reduces damage he takes by 20. Is going to be another great deck that you can run Radiant Serena in. Heal that 20 damage. You're going to get more value out of it than you think. And yeah, guys, I mean, Golem's going to be a powerhouse. He's going to be a powerhouse and going to be awfully, awfully scary. If this set has taught us anything about the Kanto region, is that a lot of power comes out of these base 151 Pokemon. Right, guys, moving along here. We are going to stop here at Dodrio, another very interesting Pokemon to talk about, guys. You might be wondering, why Dodrio? It's not an X Pokemon, right? It's just a freaking three-headed bird ostrich. So, let's look at him, shall we? Dodrio, one of the fastest land Pokemon, supposedly. One energy retreat cost, double damage from electricity. It resists fighting. So, now, its ability. Rampaging Draw. You must put a damage counter on this Pokemon in order to use his ability. Once during your turn, you may draw a card. You know, 1 for 1. 10 damage for 1 card. Not bad, right? Only has 100 HP. But now, let's look at its attack. For 1 colorless energy, Raging Beaks. 10 plus damage. This attack does 30 more damage for each damage counter on this Pokemon. So, let's say you do actually get 90 damage on this Pokemon, right? He's going to be pressing, plus that 10 damage base, he's going to be pressing 280 damage, guys, for 1 energy. 1 energy! And that's not to mention, it is a Stage 1 Pokemon. You can run the Stadium, you can run stuff like Vitality Band to give it an extra 10 damage, make it 290. You could use a Stadium, what is that, Practice Studio, to give all your Stage 1s an extra 10 damage. That's 300 damage. I mean, it's a big card combination. You really don't want to make Dodrio the star of the deck. But it's something that you may not see coming if you're not careful. Dodrio, I think, is going to offer decent support to any style deck, considering it's a colorless Pokemon. Even if they attempt to bench snipe it and they give it 3 damage counters without knocking it out, it's still going to be very scary. So don't sleep on Dodrio, guys. Dodrio's he's gonna sneak up on you. He's gonna come out from underneath your bed, all 3 of his heads, and they're just gonna squawk. Alright, guys, going down the list here, we are looking next at, let's see. Yeah, we do have a couple of other, fan favorites here, like Grimer and Muck. Unfortunately, they really aren't fantastic Pokemon. Shelder and Cloyster, very, very forgettable Pokemon, unfortunately. And I know everybody loves the Ghastly family line, Ghastly, Haunter, and Gengar. Unfortunately, Gengar is this is a very situational deck. If they put out a Pokemon that makes it so that your opponent can't play items from their hand, this Pokemon would get a lot more power, I think. So we're looking at Ghastly into Haunter. Haunter's ability is Spirit's Homecoming. Once during your turn, when you play this card from your hand, to evolve a Pokemon, you must put a supporter card from your opponent's discard pile into their hand. That's kind of questionable, right? But it's supposed to help set you up for Gengar. Poltergeist. Your opponent reveals their hand. This attack does 50 damage for each trainer card you find there. And Hollow Dive. 110. Put 3 damage counters on your opponent's bench Pokemon any way you like. If there's a special tech for this Pokemon, I sure as hell haven't seen it yet. Maybe there's cards out there that will provide a little bit better feedback on it. Maybe stuff like Mimikyu, VMAX, stuff like that. But then again, I'm not sure. I don't know why I want to be giving my opponent a supporter. I can only assume that it was intended to help Gengar with his Poltergeist ability. So, I don't know. Alright, guys, the next card that I wanted to mention was Onyx. Onyx, yeah, why the hell Onyx, right? Like, Onyx of all things. Because he becomes active for a single double turbo energy, Thumping Avalanche, 80 times damage. Discard the top 5 cards of your deck. This attack does 80 for each Pokemon with a retreat cost of exactly 4 discarded this way. So, yeah, you're going to be milling yourself, which I understand. Which in that case, you're going to want to play stuff like Miriam, Super Rod. It's going to be a fantastic Pokemon late game when you can control your deck and what's in it. Um, like I said, stuff like Miriam, Ayana will help you get stuff back in your deck if you have it just sitting in your hand. Stuff like Youngster and Shauna will help you do it as well to help shuffle cards back into your deck. But yeah, guys, if you hit the five Pokemon with 4 retreat, which there's a ton in this set. We've gone over Venusaur, we've gone over Muk, we've gone over a couple of other ones. If you ditch them, Onyx will be hitting 400 damage. 400 damage, guys. That's enough to knock out any GX Pokemon, EX Pokemon, or X Pokemon that I've seen so far. Not to mention, the double turbo energy reduces damage by 20. You're still looking at 380. And Onyx can be extended and played on by giving it Bravery Charm, giving it that 170 HP, the very minimum X Pokemon HP status, and its other attack for double fighting energy and a colorless is heavy impact at 100 damage. I think there's a lot of gimmick here that can be had with playing this Onyx. I don't think by any means it's going to be a fantastic card or meta breaking, but I think it'll be one of those gimmicky decks that no one's going to see coming. Alright guys, coming up we have Drowsy and Hypno and other fan favorites. We will come back to them here in a bit because they are kind of key to another card. Some of my personal favorites, Krabby and Kingler. Unfortunately, just very, very simple, Pokemon. Not great whatsoever, unfortunately. Same goes with Voltorb and Electrode, Execute and Executor. Here we have, guys. Here we have another one. Another very fun family to talk about. Cubone and Marowak. Cubone and Marowak. We have Cubone here with the ability Support Bone. The attacks of your Marowak do 30 more damage to your opponent's active Pokemon. And its attack hit twice, times 10 damage. Flip 2 coins, attack does 10 damage for each hit. Not very fantastic, right? But that means the Marowak has to be great. And yes, it really is. For a low energy cost, you're looking at Bone Throw for 30 damage for 1 energy, and this attack does 30 damage to one of your opponent's bench Pokemon. Next is Boundless Power. For a fighting and a colorless energy, you're looking at 120 damage. This Pokemon can't attack during your next turn. That's kind of shitty. But when you look at the setup of the deck, you're gonna have 3 Cubones hopefully on your bench, which is an additional 90 damage, making Marowak's Bone Throw 120 for 1 energy. Let's take a nap, and then when I wake up, I will play you. All right, Clips. I'll talk to you in a little while. So yeah, Marowak has a lot of potential to do a lot of damage for not a whole lot of energy. And then Boundless Power, when you add that 90 to the 120, you're looking at 210. It being a Stage 1 Pokemon, I've mentioned before, there's a lot of options to increase the damage of your Stage 1 Pokemon. From a Stadium for 10 damage, Vitality Band, what is that? Let's see. Sorry about that, guys. Yeah, it's a low energy cost, so it's great. It's fantastic for that. You don't need a whole lot of energy to get it going. See, low price card exchange. So when your opponent, knocks out a Pokemon, they're not taking 2 or 3 prizes. They're only taking 1. 120 for 1 energy, 210 for 2. And then you can use stuff like Practice Studio to increase it by 10, Vitality Band to increase it by 10, and if you are properly playing the prize exchange game with your opponent, you can get an extra 30 damage from a Defiance Band. And I mentioned before the Golduck. The Golduck is actually very helpful to this deck, only because it could provide itself as a meat shield, and in case your Marowak does get knocked out, and you lose some Cubones because you have to discard them, you can use Golduck's first attack for 1 energy, pick up 4 Pokemon, 4 from your discard pile, and add them back to your hand. So even if your opponent shuffles them away on their turn, you still have, you at least know they're back in your deck. Of course, you don't have to play the Golduck. You could use stuff like Super Rod to put Pokemon back in your deck. You can use Miriam. So yeah, guys, I think that's going to be another pretty fun deck, Cubone and Marowak. Alright guys, let's keep it going real quick. We have here, you know, some of our other favorite Pokemon. Hitmonchan. Hitmonchan is a Pokemon that has an ability that 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 our viewer here, Clips, has come across once before in the form of a Cacturn. So I don't think she's gonna like it very much. Anyway, moving on. Another honorable mention here is the Coughing and Weijing family line. Weezing, its ability is what makes it fantastic. We're going to talk about its attack first. Spinning Gas. 50 damage. This attack does 10 more damage for each of your opponent's bench Pokemon. So, again, potentially 100 damage for just a double colorless. Looking at its ability now. Explode Together. This is the Chaozu of the Pokemon verse, guys, of the Pokemon universe. If this Pokemon is in your active spot and is knocked out by damage from your opponent's attacks, flip a coin. If heads, the attacking Pokemon is knocked out. So you have a 50-50 chance of getting a free knockout on whatever the hell it seems to be trying to knock it out. It's a fantastic comeback card, guys. I used to play a similar Pokemon in the form of Frostlass. It had a similar ability. It was a great Pokemon, absolutely great Pokemon. I was back in an era when everybody was playing EX Pokemon, and nobody really saw it coming. They have to knock out 6 of your Pokemon to pick up 6 prize cards. I only have to win 3 coin flips to get, knock out their EX Pokemon and win. So, yeah, there's a strategy there, In this particular case, though, I think Weezing would actually go very well in the Nidoking, Nidoqueen deck. It gives you a little bit of time to stall out. It kind of scares off your opponent. It really forces them to have to look for bosses' orders and stuff like that. So yeah, Weezing I think is going to be a very splashable shield in just about any deck. Alright guys, going back to the Giovanni talks. This is the set I was talking about before. Rhyhorn and Rhydon. For Cruz, we're looking at Rhydon's attacks here. For fighting in a colorless, 30 damage. Kind of shit damage, to be completely honest. Its other attack is where it's at, though. For double fighting and colorless, Charismatic Drill, 40 plus damage. If you played Giovanni's Charisma from your hand during this turn, this attack does 140 more damage. 180 with a special condition and 3 energy. Again, it's a very cute Giovanni style deck type if you choose to play it. I do not recommend it. You will not get a whole lot of competitive play out of that. I think they kind of failed at trying to make a Giovanni deck. Hopefully there's more stuff coming out. Maybe they're gonna put out a like a Team Rocket set again. If they do and it has more Giovanni support, I really hope to fucking see it, because that it's not gonna be here. It's not gonna be here at Rhydon. Alright guys, the next Pokemon we're here to talk about is Chansey. Chansey. This one seems a little confusing. Let's take a look at it real quick. It looks freaking adorable. A little 4-leaf clover, Chansey sitting at the park. 110 HP, excuse me. Let's talk about its ability here. Its ability is Lucky Bonus. Lucky Bonus. If you took this Pokemon as a face-down prize card and your bench isn't full, before you put it in your hand, you may put it on your bench and flip a coin. If heads, take 1 more prize. Now, honestly, there's absolutely no. I mean, if you have the room, play 4 of these. Play 4 of these Chanseys. There's great support for this kind of stuff. It's a +1 prize if you only get a 1 knockout. It's a +3 if you get the coin flip. If you get double prize from an X Pokemon. And the greatest thing about it, guys, is that you can Hisuian Heavy Ball. If you not even Hisuian Heavy, you can Hisuian Heavy Ball to make sure where and if it's in there, or Ultra Ball to find out if it's in there. Another great card you could use is Gloria. If you have 3 of these Chanseys in your hand, you can use Gloria, pick up 3 of your prize cards, put 3 of these Chanseys back in. You're now guaranteed 3 coin flips for additional prizes. So, you know, that being said, you have to make sure you have the bench space. You have to make sure, you know, it could potentially get you a win. It really can. So don't forget this Chansey, guys, because I'm pretty sure people are going to be playing this Chansey in a very tech-style way. Yeah, guys, Kangaskhan X is back. This guy is very reminiscent of the Kangaskhan EX that was printed, or the Kangaskhan EX that was printed during the Mega era. Triple draw 3 cards, incessant punch. I think the other one was called Dizzy Punch. 100 times 100 times damage. Flip 4 coins. Attack does 100 times each heads. So yeah, potentially no damage, potentially 400 damage. So yeah, to Kangaskhan, that's all right. Then we have another honorable mention is this Starmie. Starmie has an ability, Aquatic Enigma. Once during your turn, you may put 2 damage counters on one of your opponent's Pokemon. If you place any damage counters on this way, discard this Pokemon and all cards attached to it. So it's a way to free up bench space, and get free damage out there. I can definitely see myself playing this in like the Meowscarada deck, where you need damage on your opponent's Pokemon already. If not even the Meowscarada deck, it can definitely work well in the Gyarados deck, where Gyarados does more damage if your opponent's active Pokemon already has damage on it. And again, it frees up bench space without your opponent taking prizes. So. Right, guys, the next card that is very, very awesome in the set is Jinx EX, or Jinx X. Jinx X here, for a water energy and double colorless, you have Heart-Stopping Kiss. If your opponent's active Pokemon is asleep, it is knocked out. And its other attack is triple water energy, Icy Wind, 120. Your opponent's active Pokemon is now asleep. So Jinx has its own, you know, wombo combo going. If your opponent Pokemon fails the coin flip to wake up, it's going to stay asleep, forcing your opponent to now jump through hurdles and retreat Pokemon that they otherwise wouldn't want to retreat, or swap out. It forces them to look for the escape rope, forces them to look for the switch, or the pull cart. And if that's not the case, then you're going to be getting that free knockout with Heart-Stopping Kiss. And before we were talking about, I mentioned the Hypno and Drowsy. Now you can set your bench up with these Drowsies, right? And when you get your Jinx ready to go, you can evolve one. You can evolve one into Drowsy. And its ability, Chance Hypnotism. When you play this Pokemon from your hand to evolve one of your Pokemon during your turn, you may make your opponent's active Pokemon asleep. So just like that, you put your opponent's Pokemon to sleep, and you get a free knockout from Jinx's Heart-Stopping Kiss. And you could even control it, guys, if you use it in tandem with Boss's Orders. If your opponent's sitting on something in the back row, and you know it's going to come out, it's going to be a problem, and if they're sitting on, say, like the Wigglytuff, for that matter, it's a good way to get around that as well. And best part about Jinx is that it's a water-type Pokemon. There's a lot of water support out there. Potential TKO. It's a gimmick. It seems like a gimmicky build-up, but there seems to be validity to it. You know what I mean? So yeah, guys, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if we're gonna see this a whole lot. I think it'd definitely be interesting to see it splashed in somewhere, just kind of see how it works out. I mean, hell, I would try making a deck with Jinx and Hypno and potentially something else. I wouldn't know, but yeah, you know, let's look forward to the future and see if maybe we can make a Jinx X deck work. Then, of course, we have a couple of other Kanto Pokemon here, Electabuzz and Magmar, Pokemon that work in tandem. Pinsir, another Pokemon. It does more damage the more prizes your opponent takes. Your run-of-the-mill Tauros, a new style Gyarados with a very interesting ability. I'm not sure how we're gonna be able to use that, but we'll get there when we get there. Next up we talk about is Ditto. Its ability, Change Start. This ability can only be used if this Pokemon is in the active spot and only on their first turn. Search your deck for a basic Pokemon, except any Ditto. If you do, discard this Pokemon and all attached cards, and put that Pokemon in its place, then shuffle your deck. So this is going to definitely help out if you only have so many copies of a Pokemon in your deck. Unfortunately, it's not really going to provide too much else late game, because this only works on your first turn, I believe. Yeah, if it's your active and it's on your first turn. But the good thing is, like, let's say you do get a Sprigatito and the Ditto. You're going to put the Ditto in the active, and you could put Sprigatito in the bench. And when your turn starts, you can shoot that Ditto away and grab any other basic Pokemon you need. It'll help you set up... it's like my deck. It'll help you set up the Ralts, or it'll help you set up another Sprigatito. You know what I mean? It can definitely help you out. It'll help you get through your deck a little bit more. They're discardable Pokemon. They're discard fodder later on, so you don't really have to make a really bad choice. Unfortunately, they do become dead draws. So, for what that's worth. You could also search up X Pokemon, basic X Pokemon. So you could search up any of the Beasts of Destruction, Tanglu, Chi-Yu, you name it, you'll be able to find them. Along with the combination Bravery Charm, immediately going, rolling it up, 50 HP more. Yeah, I mean, this Ditto I think is going to have a little bit more play than what I'm talking about here. But yeah, let's just look forward to it. And guys, a really fun honorable mention here. And I don't know if my darling Chibi J-chan is listening, but if she is, she will be excited. Because in this set, you can have yourself a multi-elemental Eevee deck. A multi-elemental Eevee deck. We are looking here at Colorful Friends with Eevee. Search your deck for up to 3 Pokemon of different types. Reveal them, put them into your hand, then shuffle your deck. It's an awesome first attack, to be completely honest. You get these 3 into your hand, and you're now sitting on them if your opponent doesn't disrupt you. Next, we have Vaporeon. Spiral Drain, 30 damage, heal 30 damage from this Pokemon. And Fighting Whirlpool, water and double colorless. 90 damage. If your opponent's active Pokemon is Pokemon X or Pokemon V, this attack does 90 more damage. Jolteon. Linear attack. This attack does 30 damage to one of your opponent's Pokemon. So it allows you to help bench sniping a little bit. It'll help you get rid of that Manaphy, help you start weakening other Pokemon, hopefully get a little knockout on a early stage Pokemon, Fuecoco, Quaxley, Sprigatito, stuff like that, or Charmander, Bulbasaur, Blastoise, or Squirtle, you know what I mean. Then we're looking at Fighting Lightning. Lightning with double colorless, 90 damage. If your opponent's active Pokemon is Pokemon X or Pokemon V, this attack does 90 more damage. So again, you're looking at a very decent amount of power coming from this Pokemon. The full point of this, though, isn't the fact that they all do a decent amount of damage for low energy cost. That's not true at all. For one elemental energy and then double colorless, you're going to be running probably double turbo and maybe a little bit of each energy, to be completely honest. Let's finish this up, and then I'll finish up my thoughts here. Then we have Flareon, Destructive Flame, 30 damage, flip a coin. If heads, discard an energy attached to your opponent's Pokemon. This is the other part of the deck where you can play a lot of disruption. Disruption in the form of discarding cards from the top of their deck. You play supporters that'll do that. You can play stuff like Crushing Hammer. You could definitely play, this definitely be a deck where you want to play stuff like a double boss's orders, just so you can kind of control what's coming in and out. The full point is that you want to play on your opponent's weakness. Whatever their weakness is, you want to be able to do double damage. In this style Eevee deck, It's a stage 1 multi-elemental deck. You're gonna definitely want to play to their weakness. Like I said, um, it is gonna be a low prize exchange. So even if they get one knockout on your Pokemon, you're gonna be they're only gonna be up one prize. You know what I mean? Um, it has a very decent disrupt style play style. So you kind of have to be able to disrupt them. Hopefully, you get coin flips that work on your side. It has some bench sniping potential, and yeah, I mean, I think this deck would be all right if it has the proper type of support to go with it. Stuff like what is it? Triple reversal energy, I think it is. It will get any one of these active late game, especially if your opponent's winning in the prize card section. And let's see, I'm going to skip a couple here and I'll come back to them. But because I want to talk about this real quick. The Kabutops. The Kabutops here will actually help facilitate what this deck, what this Eevee deck tries to do a lot. Why, do you ask? Because of Kabutops' ability. Not his attack. His attack, unfortunately, he's just going to be a meat shield. His ability, though, Ancient Warning. Apply weakness for your opponent's active Pokemon as times 4. Times 4. So that is where the EVs are going to be powerful, that you can play multiple energies, multiple types, and you're going to get a lot of value out of it at that point. And you're going to start seeing the knockouts and the double prize cards from, hopefully, if your opponent's playing X Pokemon. But yeah, the Eevee deck seems like it could be kind of fun. It might be very micromanagey, but hey, there's no challenge we should shy away from, you know? We can get it to work, that's all that counts. Alright guys, moving along to the final page here of my notes. We're going to look at some of these fossil Pokemon. We have Ammonite and Amistar. Amistar's ability is Primitive Tentacle. As long as this Pokemon is in your active spot, your opponent's active Pokemon can't retreat. Its attack is Aqua Split, 90 damage. Its attack does 30 damage to 2 of your opponent's bench Pokemon. It'll be a great addition to any water deck, to be completely honest. You use it as a meat shield to lock in a Pokemon that you don't want escaping, and it allows you a little bit of a bench sniping for a little bit of squishy damage, which in the long run will stack up. Of course, we talked about the Kabutops here a little bit. Apply weakness for your opponent's active Pokemon at times 4 instead. Now the boss, guys, the boss of the deck. The boss of the ancient Pokemon of the Kanto region is Aerodactyl. And I've chosen to call this guy Aerodactyl the Tyrant. For 1 energy, it does Glide for 30 damage. For 2, we have Degeneration Arc. 100 damage. If your opponent's active Pokemon is an evolved Pokemon, de-evolve it by putting the highest stage evolution card on it into your opponent's hand. So that literally allows you to get really, really cheap knockouts on any of the stage 2 X Pokemon. Charmeleon, Wartortle, Ivysaur, Quaxwell, Crocolore, Florgato, they all have 90 HP. 90, 80 HP. And this thing, Aerodactyl, is dealing 100. 100! So, it's going to be a very scary Pokemon. It's going to be a good deck if you focus Aerodactyl with a little bit of side support, just in case they don't actually run evolution Pokemon. But even against stuff like, say, the Manchow deck, if you bosses orders out their Baxcaliburs, then you can de-evolve the Baxcalibur into Frigibax, and you get that free knockout. Now you're forcing your opponent now to have that Baxcalibur in their hand with no other options. So yeah, guys, definitely keep your eyes open for Aerodactyl, and if it's one of your favorite Pokemon, I hope you could build a deck with him because he seems like he's going to have a lot of potential, a lot of potential. Now moving forward, another honorable mention here is Snorlax. Snorlax, I was talking about him before when I was talking about the Wigglytuff and the leftovers. Irresistible Craving is his ability. Once during your turn, you can use his ability to put up to 2 leftovers from your discard pile into your hand. And its attack is for triple colorless, Flopping Press, 130. This Pokemon also does 30 damage to itself. You can mitigate it by giving it leftovers, but 150, anything's going to squish it. Now, guys, moving forward, we're going to talk about the Kanto birds a little bit because they are great when they put them all together. Only in certain ways, though. We're gonna discuss them a little bit here. First off, we have Articuno. If this Pokemon has any water energy attached, it has no retreat cost. Its attack is Blizzard for triple water, 110. This attack does 10 damage to each of your opponent's Pokemon. Zapdos X, Bolt Float. If this Pokemon has any lightning energy attached, it has no retreat cost. Its attack, Multi-Shot Lightning, triple lightning, 120 damage. This attack does 90 damage to one of your opponent's bench Pokemon that has any damage counters on it. And lastly, Moltres. Ability, Flare Float. If this Pokemon has any fire energy attached to it, it has no retreat cost. Triple Fire, Long Distance Flight. Discard 2 fire energy cards from this Pokemon. This attack does 120 damage to one of your opponent's bench Pokemon. So as you can see, they all have a very bench snipey style play. By no means do I suggest you actually play them all together, but you can. You can. Why? Because of the reversal energy. The reversal energy, it provides 3 of any style energy to a Pokemon if you are losing in the prize game, in the prize bracket. If your opponent has 4 prizes left and you still have 6, it will provide 3 energy to whatever it seems to be attached to. You can't have more than 1 attached to it. But guys, these guys all need 3 energies apiece. So there's absolutely no reason why you can't play it. If they do get a free knockout on your Zapdos, they take 2 prizes, or if you allow them to take a knockout for free. This would also be a good deck to run the Weijing in, since they're all basic Pokemon as it is. You can run the Weezings, 4 Coughing, 4 Weezing. Get that Weezing, get that Coughing out there. Let them get the knockout on it to get a free prize card. You get that 50-50 chance to try to get a free knockout on them. It's going to scare them. It's going to make them think now. And even if they do and you do not win the coin flip, you now have what you need to activate that reversal energy and get your Pokemon out there to start bench sniping. Articuno obviously is going to be your headliner, doing 110 at base with 10 to everything else. It then allows your Zapdos here to use Multi-Shot Lightning, 120 to the active, with 90 to anything else that has a damage counter on it. Which at 90, you're knocking out most stage 2s, every single basic Pokemon with the exception of Pokemon X. And then of course Moltres. Moltres is going to be your backup to Zapdos. You do have to discard 2 fire energy from this Pokemon, and it does 120 to one of your opponent's bench Pokemon. I only suggest you do this. You use Moltres if they happen to have something that was has a lot of damage on it and they pulled it to the bench. But I mean, at that point, you could definitely use Zapdos again. You don't even really have to use Moltres. Moltres seems to have missed the mark here. Moltres might actually be a lot more helpful in like fire style decks. The 2 that I suggest you probably focus on is Articuno and Zapdos. But yeah, there's a deck there, guys. There's a deck with those 3. And then next up is Dragonite. Yeah, Dratini, Dragonair, and Dragonite. As you can see, double 1 water, 1 lightning, does Dragon Pulse for 180. It discard the top 2 cards of your own deck. So, kind of meh, right? But its ability here, Jet Cruise. Your Pokemon in play have no retreat cost. This Dragonite will definitely help out with that high retreat cost that we were talking about before from the Onyx It will definitely help out with some of your other Pokemon as well. I mean, anything you don't want to pay retreat cost for, to be completely honest. And you only really have to play it in, like, set of 1. As long as you can get him out there on the bench, he's going to be providing a lot. He's, as you can see, his HP is actually worth it, 180. There's a couple of cards out there that can one-shot him. But still, having that 180 with the free retreat cost, you're going to be able to get him out of there, and you'll be able to get, you know, whatever you want back in. Alright guys, moving forward, we have Mewtwo. This is the Mewtwo for the set. This creepy, realistic looking Mewtwo. 130 basic Pokemon, Bravery Charm compatible for a whopping 180. Now, his attacks. We have, we're going to start off with his bigger attack first, because his big attack is kind of crap compared to his other one. We have Psyslash, or Psylash. For double psychic with a colorless, 130, discard 2 energy cards from this Pokemon. So yeah, that's kind of crap. The reason why you want to play him is because of Reflective Barrier for double colorless energy, and yes guys, you can use double turbo energy on this. It's going to do 20 damage, but in that case, it doesn't really matter. During your opponent's next turn, if this Pokemon is damaged by an attack, even if this Pokemon is knocked out, put damage counters on the attacking Pokemon equal to the number done to this Pokemon. So you basically force your opponent to make the choice at that point. Do I want to knock out my Pokemon and knock out their Mewtwo? And if you force them to use or discard their boss's orders, Pokemon catchers, stuff like that, they're going to be in a lot of trouble. Because that 20 damage would be nice, but the double, you know, the double turbo energy gets it active immediately, and it basically makes your opponent have to make that gambit of a choice. And like I said, if you do have the Bravery Charm on Mewtwo, it will put it in that 180 range, where then you're literally chunking just about anything to the halfway point. Alright guys, so let's move along here. We're almost done. We have Mew X. Mew X. Its ability is Restart. Once during your turn, you may draw a card until you have 3 cards in hand. It is a very, very watered down Bidoof. But to be completely honest, it's, you know, it's still good. It's still very great. It's a basic Pokemon. It immediately starts working. If you get a good combo at the very beginning of the game, you're going to want that free hand replenish, especially if you don't have supporters. Its attack for triple colorless energy is Genome Hack. Basically, you choose one of your opponent's active Pokemon's attacks and use it as Muse. Sorry guys, I got the hiccups. So yeah, you get to use Genome Hack, choose one of your opponent's active Pokemon's attacks, and use it as its attack. So, even if they do get their active Pokemon out, and it's a Pokemon X, that Pokemon X has not enough energy to use its attacks yet, but you do. Double Turbo, again, these two together would work really well together. You do, you know, you can use Genome Hack to steal your opponent's active Pokemon's attack. It doesn't matter what it is. Whatever they have at their disposal is for you to use as well. Boss's Orders, again, is going to be a very powerful card in this deck with these Pokemon. You pull out whatever you want from their bench, and you get to use their attack as your own. You use it on a VMAX, pull out a VMAX from their bench, you get to use it. So yeah, you know, this card is definitely going to be an ace card that comes out of nowhere and helps you out of a very, very tough situation. So yeah, guys, that's the Pokemon. Those are the 151 Pokemon in this set. Next up are just a couple of trainer cards, not many to really talk about. Start off is Big Balloon. The Stage 2 Pokemon this card is attached to has no retreat cost. If you don't want to run the Dragonite, the X Pokemon that you can, the Stage 2 X Pokemon, so stuff like Quaquaval X, Skeldurge X, Scarlet X, the Charizard, Blastoise, Venusaur X in the set. You can equip them with Big Balloon, and they no longer have a retreat cost. So you now have a way to get them out of danger. We have Bill's Transfer. It's one of the support cards in this set. Look at the top 8 cards of your deck. You may reveal any number of Pokemon you find there and put them into your hand. Shuffle the others back into your deck. So I'm sure it has its purpose, but at that point you may as well just run Professor's Research. Cycling Road, another interesting card that I think people are going to play on the side, but again, you do really want to help your opponent. Once during each player's turn, that player may discard a basic energy card from their hand. If they do, that player draws a card. But it's going to be a great card to run in tandem with the Dodrio. The Dodrio allows you to put 10 damage counters, or sorry, put a single damage counter on it to draw a card. Along with Cycle Road, allows you to get that +2 without having to rely on the Radiant Greninja. Next up is Daisy's Help, another support for the set. Draw 2 cards. Look at your face down prize cards. This will allow you to know where your Chanseys are. And knowing where they're at, getting that 50-50 coin flip allows you to get potentially 2 prize cards if you're allowed to get a prize card at all. So, hopefully you guys can pull off a really, really interesting strategy and a really interesting win with but a coin flip. Next item is Energy Seal. This is the card I was talking to you guys about to help out Charizard, to help out a lot of these big energy cost Pokemon. Energy Seal. Flip a coin. If heads, attach a basic energy card from your discard pile to one of your benched Pokemon. And as you can see, it also does work well in tandem with Cycling Road, where you have to discard a basic energy. Next up is Erica's Invitation. Your opponent reveals their hand. Put a basic Pokemon you find there onto their bench. Then switch in that Pokemon to the active spot. So this is a good way to throw a curveball at your opponent, forcing them to put out something they otherwise wouldn't want on their bench or taking up bench space. And then, of course, this is something we've spoken a lot about since the very beginning, Giovanni's Charisma. Giovanni's Charisma is a supporter card. Put an energy attached to your opponent's active Pokemon into their hand. If you do, attach an energy card from your hand to your active Pokemon. This is a good disruption and a good acceleration card, to be completely honest. I can't see myself playing more than maybe 1 or 2 of these Giovanni's Charismas, because supporters are only allowed, once per turn. So I don't know. I don't know how they would actually pan out in the deck, but like I said, if you can't justify it for the energy acceleration, justify it for the disruption that it can provide. Playing Crushing Hammers with this is definitely going to, make it a lot more helpful. Next up is Leftovers. Leftovers is a Pokemon tool. Attach this at the end of the turn. If the Pokemon this card is attached to is in the active spot, heal 20 damage from it. So again, you put it on the Wigglytuff, you heal 20, you heal 60 from your Venusaur on the bench, and then you heal 20 more from the Radiant Serena. You're looking at 100 heals to that buffed up Wigglytuff. So just something to think about, guys. Then of course we have the fossils. The fossils seem to have slightly different reworks now, which I'm actually kind of excited for. It's kind of cute that they show you the silhouette of what they evolved from here in the little corner. Play this card as if it were a 60 HP colorless basic Pokemon. At any time during your turn, you may discard this card from play. This card can't retreat and can't be affected by any special conditions. Ability, Amber Amulet. Prevent all effects of your opponent's Pokemon abilities done to this Pokemon. Dome Fossil. Basically the same thing with the exception of its ability, Dome Armor. This Pokemon takes 30 less damage from attacks. And then of course, Old Helix Fossil. Its ability, Sea Swell. As long as this Pokemon is in the active spot, your opponent can't play any stadium cards from their hand. And coming up lastly here, we have Rigid Band. The Stage 1 Pokemon this card is attached to take 30 less damage from attacks from your opponent's Pokemon. And then we have Safety Goggles. The basic Pokemon this card is attached to has no weakness. And lastly, we have Snatch Arm. Your opponent reveals their... Oh! I dropped my Luxorus. That was my bad. That one wasn't even Sammy. That was me. Alright. The last is Snatch Arm. Your opponent reveals their hand. Choose a Pokemon you find there and put it on the bottom of their deck. So yeah, Snatch Arm with Erica. It's going to really piss off your opponent. You're going to throw curveballs up in there. You're going to make sure, you know, going to make it so that they don't know what to do with their hand anymore. You're going to throw down Pokemon they don't want down. Rigid Band is going to give your Stage 1 Pokemon basically 30 extra hit points. So it's going to help out the Marowak a little bit. It's going to help out the Jolteon, the Flareon, Vaporeon. A lot of these Stage 1 Pokemon that we were discussing earlier, it's definitely going to help them all out. That's hilarious. Okay, so Aerodactyl is actually a Stage 1 as well, so it'll actually give him... I said Bravery Charm before, but Bravery Charm doesn't work on him. So that Rigid Belt will actually help him. Will actually help the Aerodactyl. Again, Aerodactyl's I think is going to be a very powerful Pokemon coming up. It de-evolves Pokemon, it does 100 damage in the process. But yeah, Venusaur's going to be a big boy. 340 HP. Charizard's 330. Blastoise is 330. But yeah, guys, there you have it.